Piers Stephen Puhe Morgan, Piers No O'Mara, born the 30th of March 1965, is an English broadcaster, journalist, writer, and television personality. He began his career in 1988 at the tabloid The Sun. In 1994, at the age of 29, he was appointed editor of the News of the World by Rupert Murdoch, which made him the youngest editor of a British national newspaper in more than half a century. From 1995, Morgan edited the Daily Mirror but was fired in 2004. 3. He was the editorial director of First News from 2006 to 2007. In 2014, Morgan became the first editor-at-large of the Mail Online website's U.S. operation. As a television presenter, Morgan hosted the ITV talk show Piers Morgan's Life Stories, 2009-2020, and the CNN talk show Piers Morgan Live, 2011-2014. He co-presented the ITV breakfast program Good Morning Britain with Susanna Reid, 2015-2021, and has also been a judge on the talent shows America's Got Talent, 2006-2011, and Britain's Got Talent, 2007-2010. 4. In 2008, Morgan won the Celebrity Apprentice US, appearing with future U.S. President Donald Trump. 7. He was a presenter for Talk TV, now known as Talk. He hosted the program Piers Morgan Uncensored from 2022 to 2024, before leaving the network and moved the show to YouTube. Morgan was the editor of the Daily Mirror during the period in which the paper was implicated in the phone hacking scandal. In 2011, Morgan denied having ever hacked a phone and stated that he had not, to my knowledge, published any story obtained from the hacking of a phone. The following year, he was criticized in the findings of the Leveson inquiry by Chair Brian Leveson, who stated that comments made in Morgan's testimony about phone hacking were utterly unpersuasive, and that he was aware that it was taking place in the press as a whole, and that he was sufficiently unembarrassed by what was criminal behavior that he was prepared to joke about it. The judge in a 2023 court case against Mirror Group newspapers found truthful evidence that Morgan knew about private phone hacking from a reporter, shared a method of phone hacking with a media professional while being questioned about a reporting scoop, and that Morgan played another's private phone message in the newsroom he had received from another tabloid editor. It is the first thing I mentioned to him as he joins me and Charlie Bibby, an FT photographer, for breakfast at the Wolseley restaurant in London on Monday morning. Did they really say that? Hilarious! His laugh ricochets around the room. It is disgusting how far I have disappeared up my own arse. I continue with my complaint as he takes a seat, drawing attention to the press release promoting Johnny Walker Blue Label Presents, an invitation-only gig where Morgan will interview referee Pierluigi Collina. It features several ludicrous lines, not least the description of Morgan as the man behind almost every major news story of the last decade. Chuckling, he grabs the press release from me. Don't you just love it? Brilliant! It's true! Ha ha ha! The man-born Piers Stephen Poe Morgan is exactly as I remember him from 2003, when I interviewed him towards the end of his editorship at the Mirror. Aggressive, wisecracking, abusive, funny, annoying, arrogant, charming, self-deprecating. He says the only thing he remembers about the piece was the caricature of him as a Billy Bunter meets Christopher Biggins type figure, while the only thing I remember about it is a quote from Morgan saying, "I will give it my all until I am inevitably sacked, and when I do, I'll go and do something else." That is exactly what happened. Morgan was fired following a gaffe involving fake pictures of Iraqi prisoner abuse by British troops, and went on to do something else. The nature of this something else is made evident by the woman who calls me from his office suggesting the Wolseley as a venue for breakfast. When I offered a book, she says, "Don't worry, I'll just mention his name and we'll get a table." The message is clear. Morgan is as much of a celebrity now as the people he used to publish stories about. D-list and climbing inexorably, he trills. She was right, though. We have got the table. Look at that Pratt AA Gill over there. He is stuck out in Siberia with Jeremy King. Jeremy King is one of the restaurateurs behind the Wolseley. Columnist AA Gill is one of countless people Morgan has fallen out with publicly, others being Jeremy Clarkson, who punched Morgan at the British Press Awards after the Mirror ran a picture of an extramarital kiss, and Ian Hislop, the editor of satirical magazine Private Eye. I'm not sure why A. Gill has become a foe, but he gives Morgan terrible reviews every time he appears on TV, and it is evident from Morgan's ranting as we study our menus that the feeling is mutual. I love the fact that Joe Clarkson and Hislop wake up most mornings thinking of me. Does he really think they are that bothered? Totally. When they get together, they piss all over me. Clarkson is such a little squirt. If there is any repetition of that behavior, I shall make him go down like a sack of spuds. It ain't over yet. The diatribe is brought to an abrupt and welcome end by the arrival of the waiter. I order the scrambled egg and toasted brioche with tea, and Morgan does the same. Having drifted off a little during his outburst, I ask him to remind me what he was on about. No idea, mate, he says. You're doing the interview. Fucking hell, this is already descending into farce. The tea arrives. Tell me, how long into the interview before you invade my privacy? There's always a ticking clock with you broadsheets. Just spit it out. To be honest, I don't really have any questions about his private life. Apart from wanting to check whether he is engaged to Marina Hyde, the Guardian journalist for whom he left his wife a few years ago. No comment. I never talk about it. It is ungentlemanly. He struggles with his tea strainer and then smiles. You haven't read the Sunday papers, have you? I read a couple of them. Hilarious. This is great. I have already caught you out. Eh? You have no idea what you should be asking me, but it's fine. You'll realize when you get back to the office. Piers. Are you saying there was astery about you in the papers yesterday? Mate, I'm not telling you. How marvelously incompetent. Had been slow dancing with Alan Greenspan. Mate, you obviously do care, or you would not have gone to all this effort to find out. Luckily, there is no response from the number. Just as fortunately, A. Gill leaves the restaurant without spotting Morgan. But Jeremy King does pop over to say hello, prompting Morgan to make a series of predictable jokes about how the FT is trying to invade his private life. King asks whether we have enjoyed our breakfast. I reply that it has been fine, but that the company has been a bit of downer. Morgan finds the remark hilarious. His ability to laugh at himself is by far his most redeeming quality. He is rarely happier than when you insult him directly. With King moving on, I ask Morgan what an ex-editor of 40 does to occupy himself. He lists a series of commitments, speaking engagements, a new BBC One series, and the Press Gazette, the journalist's trade paper, which he has recently bought with Matthew Freud. He then mentions a new 2-book deal with Ebury for one non-fiction book and one novel. There are a lot of stories I could not put in my diary for legal reasons, so I'm going to change the names and stick them in that. Is he going to appear as a character? There will be a maverick, good-looking, clever, genius figure, yeah? With half-wit tendencies. Ha ha ha. Yeah, prone to half-wittery. The advance on the book deal is apparently a large 6-figure sum and, combined with the 7-figure sum he got for his diaries and the estimated £2 payoff he got from the Mirror, it means he must be loaded. I don't have to clean the streets if that's what you're getting at. Does he need to work? Well, I am not on the breadline, but I am not Philip Green. I need to keep working because A, I love it, and B, you need to pay the bills. 3 hungry sons, you know. Does he ever wish he hadn't done everything so quickly? He was editor of the News of the World at just 28. How old are you? 29? Ha! I was editor at your age. Does that depress you? Piers, I started feeling depressed the moment you walked through the door. Ha ha ha! Brilliant! Would he ever edit again? You know what? I think I have worked on some of the biggest stories in the world. He is beginning to sound like his press release now. But you never know. I would quite like to do a Sunday broadsheet, because this is far from the end of the story. Not only do we all have to sit with the uncomfortable truth that Fiona Harvey is now a celebrity, and what's the betting that reality shows are lining up at her door as we speak, but Richard Gadd is being pushed closer and closer to giving a line-by-line explanation of which parts of Baby Reindeer actually happened and which bits were invented for entertainment. This cannot possibly be good for anyone. It isn't good for Gadd, whose writing talent is being overshadowed by this furore. It certainly isn't good for Harvey, who will now have to spend the rest of her life being hounded by internet ghouls who comprehensively failed to understand the basic lesson of Baby Reindeer. And it isn't good for Netflix, since its seeming dereliction of compliance caused all this and opened it up to scrutiny for all corners. Then there is the identity of Gad's abuser. Baby Reindeer's other story is about Gad being groomed and sexually assaulted by a powerful figure in the world of comedy. So far, the identity of this man has been kept under wraps, but that surely won't be the case for long. Gad himself posted an Instagram story naming one figure and pleading with viewers to stop accusing him of wrongdoing. But on his podcast, Richard Osman added fuel to the fire by claiming that everyone in the television business knows who it is. As such, social media is brimming with wild speculation, with several household names being thrown around without proof. Reputations are being destroyed as a result, and it isn't good for us. By promising viewers a true story, and by doing such a shoddy job of masking Harvey's identity, Baby Reindeer might have invited us to speculate on what really happened. But this has made us complicit. We're following Fiona Harvey's story just as closely as we followed the series itself. Baby Reindeer is shaping up to be a lesson in what happens if everyone, writers, producers, the media, viewers, follow their worst instincts at every turn. Whatever horrible turn this tale takes next is on us. Piers Morgan, for all his faults, is a sharp and tenacious interviewer. And there were moments here where he ably demonstrated the full spectrum of his talents, pouncing on throwaway asides and inconsistencies in an attempt to get Harvey to admit to the behavior she has been accused of. But you were still left with the sensation that the world would probably be a better place if the interview never happened at all.